The suppliant's plea. The city of Thebes is depicted as suffering from a devastating plague. The suppliants, who represent the people of Thebes, approach Oedipus and plead for his help finding a solution to the plague and saving the city. This scene establishes the central conflict of the play and introduces the theme of seeking truth and knowledge to overcome the crisis. Plague masks were commonly used during the time of the Black Death in the 14th century to protect the doctors and others from contracting the disease. These masks had a long beak-like structure filled with aromatic substances, believed to ward off the miasma, or bad air that was thought to carry the disease. In the context of Oedipus Rex, the presence of the plague mask can symbolize the severity and urgency of the plague that afflicts Thebes. It serves as a visual representation of the devastating effects of the disease and the desperate plea for help from the suppliants. The mask can also highlight the theme of seeking truth and knowledge as the people of Thebes turn to Oedipus, known for his intelligence and problem-solving abilities, to uncover the cause of the plague and find a solution. Oedipus confronts the blind prophet Tiresias, who reluctantly reveals that Oedipus himself is the cause of the plague. This confrontation leads to a heated exchange between Oedipus and Tiresias, with Oedipus refusing to accept the truth and accusing Tiresias of conspiring against him. This scene highlights the theme of denial and the consequences of refusing to face the truth. Tiresias, as a blind prophet, possesses a unique insight into the truth and the ability to see beyond the physical realm. His blindness represents a metaphorical sight, a deeper understanding of the world and its hidden truths. In contrast, Oedipus, who has physical sight, is blind to the truth and refuses to acknowledge it. The confrontation between Oedipus and Tiresias in this scene highlights the theme of denial and the consequences of refusing to face the truth. Oedipus' insistence on his innocence and refusal to accept Tiresias' revelations demonstrate his blindness to his actions and the reality of his fate. The blind eye, represented by Tiresias, serves as a symbol of the truth that Oedipus cannot see or accept. Jocasta's revelation. Jocasta, Oedipus's wife and mother, realizes the truth of their incestuous relationship. She recounts the story of her first husband's murder and the prophecy that their son would kill him. As the truth dawns on her, Jocasta becomes overwhelmed with despair and runs to her apartment, where she ultimately takes her own life. This scene explores the themes of fate, destiny, and the devastating consequences of Oedipus's actions. The skull serves as a reminder of the inevitable end that awaits all humans. In Oedipus Rex, the skull symbolizes the tragic fate that looms over the characters, particularly Jocasta. As Jocasta realizes the truth of her relationship with Oedipus and the prophecy that foretold their doomed union, the skull can serve as a visual representation of their impending death and the destruction that will befall them. It highlights the inescapable nature of fate and the tragic consequences of Oedipus's actions, leading to the ultimate demise of Jocasta. Therefore, the connection between the skull and Scene 3, Jocasta's revelation, lies in their shared symbolism of death, mortality, and the devastating consequences of Oedipus's actions. Oedipus's self-blinding and exile. Oedipus, after discovering the whole truth of his actions, blinds himself with Jocasta's brooches. He then begs to be exiled from Thebes, acknowledging his guilt and the need for punishment. This scene represents the play's climax, as Oedipus confronts the consequences of his actions and accepts his fate. It explores the themes of guilt, discipline, and the limits of human agency. Blinding oneself can be seen as a metaphorical falling from a state of sight and knowledge into a state of darkness and ignorance. Oedipus, in blinding himself, is symbolically falling from his position of power and wisdom, acknowledging his limitations and the consequences of his actions. Falling can also represent Oedipus's descent into despair and self-punishment. Blinded and exiled, Oedipus falls from his previous status as king and is left to face the consequences of his actions alone. This fall represents the theme of punishment and the limits of human agency, as Oedipus realizes that he cannot escape the repercussions of his fate. Therefore, the connection between falling and scene 4. Oedipus's self-blinding and exile lies in the symbolic descent of Oedipus from a state of sight and knowledge into darkness and ignorance, as well as his fall from power and acceptance of punishment.